All right, so this weekend the Indianapolis Colts take on the New Orleans Saints at 1 p.m. Eastern Time in Lucas Oil Stadium at home. This is one of the more difficult games to predict this year so far. I was doing my predictions video, and I'm like, man, this game is tough. Going back and forth. They both have some things that are good, some bad. They both really like to run the football. They have some good running backs. Both quarterbacks are kind of inconsistent. I would take Derek Carr over Gardner Minshew 100% of the time, but I would take, coaching for the Colts side over the Saints 100% of the time. So it's very you could go back and forth in this game all day long, and this will be one of the most difficult games for you to predict all year long. It is for me. So let's start with we're gonna start on the Colts side. Disclaimer: this is mostly going to be preview for the Colts, and we'll talk about the Saints a bit, but we are really predicting the Colts side of things a bit. So, Gardner Minshew, he needs to protect the football. Gardner Minshew has really struggled to protect the football. I think he has like 7 or 8 turnovers within the last 2 games. He has like at least 4 to 6 fumbles. He has like 4 or 5 interceptions. Yeah, he has not been very good. And, one of those fumbles went for a touchdown last week. In last week's game, he threw, quite a few interceptions. It has not been good. So to help limit those mistakes by Gardner Minshew, I think we have to continue to try to run the football as much as we can. Now, that's something Gardner Minshew is going to have to get better at, and we did play Myles Garrett, who was wild last week, but then we also played the Jaguars the week prior, and he still threw 3 interceptions, didn't fumble as much, but now you're playing a Saints defense, which I would argue is I wouldn't necessarily say it's better than the Jaguars defense, but I think the secondary is more complete, but, their pass rush has been a little lackluster. I will, Cam Jordan's very good, but their pass rush has not been the normal Saints pass rush that we've seen. And the Colts offense line should be fine. So we need to get the run game going. We need to get the run game going to limit Gardner Minshew's, to limit how many times he gets to throw the football, really, because, Zach Moss is dealing with some kind of arm or, elbow injury, but he was limited yesterday. He will probably play on Sunday. I would be surprised if he didn't play. But really, then on the other side, you have Alvin Kamara. But let's keep talking about the offense. So we're going to need our receivers to have a really good game. Joshua Downs has been phenomenal. You have Michael Pittman Jr. You're probably going to have Marshawn Lattimore on him all day long. But I do think that these receivers, it's going to be tough for Gardner Minshew, to see the defense and to really, play against the defense because, we saw last year when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles, he really struggled versus the New Orleans Saints defense. Now this year he's got, the situation isn't as good. We still have Shane Steichen, similar, in that sense, but you're still playing a really tough defense and it could be a long day for Gardner Minshew. But this defense, you can run against this defense, and that is why I'm saying you need to get that run game going. The offensive line needs to be at the top of the game, and unfortunately, Braden Smith is probably not going to play. He did not practice Tuesday or Wednesday, or Wednesday and Thursday. He didn't practice, so I hope he can get into practice. I hope he can maybe be questionable, but even if he does play, he probably won't be 100%. You're playing a decent Saints defense line, definitely not a Saints defense line that we're used to seeing because it's not great, but it's a good defensive line. So we're gonna have to protect Gardner Minshew. Also, playing Cam Jordan. He's no Myles Garrett. He's still a decent veteran edge rusher. It seems like Father Time has caught up to him a little bit. He's definitely definitely in the twilight of his career. But I think this offensive line should be able to open up the running game. And this is a very different offense that the Saints are playing that a lot of teams play. And we saw last week when the Browns played us. This offense is very different. A lot of teams don't play the offense that we play. It's very different. It's very unlike any other offense, and it's very difficult to prepare for when you haven't even played it at all. So it's that is a big factor. That's a big plus for this Colts team, for this Colts offense. Saints haven't really played an offense like this. It's very different from all the other offense they have played. But I'm really excited to see what our run game can do against a pretty good defense, and what our offense can do against a good defense 2 weeks in a row. Last week, we did score almost 40 against the Browns, but I think the Browns, as I was saying earlier, this offense is very, very different, very difficult to prepare for. Not a lot of teams run it. Very, very little teams run it. If 2 or 3 teams, maybe 1 or 2 more, I don't really know. But the Colts are one of those teams that run a very different offense, and sometimes it's difficult to watch film on. Sometimes it's difficult, to defend against. And the Browns had that difficult time last week, and the Browns may have went into the game thinking, oh, it's the Colts, where just kind of have that mindset that they're the Colts and we should be fine. So kind of not expecting the Colts to do what they did. And considering Gardner Minshew threw 4 interceptions, we still almost scored 40 points is very impressive. It's almost unheard of. But now we're playing a defense that's not as good. It's not as good, but it's still a good defense. Marshawn Lattimore, he's a good corner. You have Isaac Yiadom, who's actually been playing pretty well this season so far. You have Alontae Taylor. I like Alontae Taylor. They have some really, they have Tyrann Mathieu. That's not a good mix for a quarterback that's struggling with turnovers. And you have Tyrann Mathieu on the other side. Then you have Demario Davis. Although, the Saints do have a lot of guys that are beat up right now. It's kind of just like a Saints thing. They do typically have a lot of guys beat up, and right now they do. Demario Davis, I know he was limited in practice the other day. I know Kamara did not practice in early in the week due to an illness, but he will play. A lot of these guys will play. A lot of them are limited. Ramczyk, it seems like he will be back this week, so that could be tough. But how will that interior of the Saints offensive line be, which has not been great? This would have been a game where it would have been absolutely phenomenal to have Grovert Stewart. But before we really dive into that defense there, yeah, the last keys that we need for our offense is Gardner Minshew will need to limit the turnovers. We will need to get the run game going. Well, now Zach Moss, he did not practice one game. He did not practice on Wednesday. He was limited on Thursday. I do fully expect Zach Moss to play, but we need to get the run game going. Can Jonathan Taylor really continue what he started last week? It seemed like the Jonathan Taylor of old was back. The 2022 Jonathan Taylor, because you really see, or the 2021 Jonathan Taylor actually. He looked really good. Honestly, he had almost 100. I think he had 125 yards of all-purpose yards, and that's not an easy defense to run against. Even though the Browns defense, it's a defense that you could run against. Definitely not one of the better ones in the league, but it's still a good run defense. Now you're playing another really good run defense. Can you do it 2 weeks in a row? Zach Moss, you have a really good 1-2 punch. Both of these teams have really good running games. Both of these teams want to run the football. Both of the teams, I would say the Colts do have the edge when it comes to coaching. And we will talk about my final prediction in a little bit. We're going to talk about the defense now. So talking about Derek Carr, the defense could have, it's going to go either way. It's going to go one of two ways. It's either the defense will have a really good day and the Saints will really struggle and you hold the Saints on the 20 points, or it could be a really long day and the Saints could have over 30 points. It's the Saints did break out in the second half versus the Jaguars defense. It's pretty good. So it was really nice to see them break out versus the Jaguars there, but can they do it? Can they break out for the full game? Can this be their full game breakout? And if it is, the Colts will not win this game. They will not win this game. But something I do want to say that the Colts have scored, are the only team in the NFL to score at least 20 points in every single game so far, which is that's pretty interesting. Considering a year prior when we were really horrible, it's pretty impressive. It's a long, it's a pretty big jump, and thanks to Shane Steichen, he has offense and defense playing hard. Even though he's he's an offensive minded guy, he's really good. He's been a really good head coach so far, and he's really playing this. And he really has this team playing at a level that we didn't think they would be able to play at, or me anyways. So the defensive side of things, we're gonna have to get pressure on Derek Carr. If you don't get pressure on Derek Carr, it's going to be a long day because they have weapons. Chris Olave is going to play this weekend. He had that little issue, the legal issue with the speeding or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he was, there's something floating around on Twitter, and I saw it, and it was a video and such of him being arrested, and him like, I'm a Saints player and all this. I'm not getting into legal stuff, but he will be playing, just kind of, letting you know what happened. But then you have Michael Thomas. He would be playing. Michael Thomas, I think this is a game that Michael Thomas can really shine and have a huge day because the Colts might not have Julius Brents, and then you have Chris Olave on the other side. So really, this all comes down to the pass rush. Is the pass rush going to be, are they going to come through today? And DeForest Buckner, he's been great, but considering, Eric Johnson might not play, you don't have Grovert Stewart, it really hurts. But I really want to see how Tommy will play a little bit. Tavon Bryan will be playing. I like Tavon Bryan. I think he's a decent depth guy, which, he is providing for the next couple of weeks while Grovert Stewart is out. He has no Grovert Stewart, but it really just hurt not having Grovert Stewart and Buckner on the inside. It's just a great duo, if not the best interior duo in the league. Buckner, he is very good. Well, he's a top 10 defensive tackle. He will disrupt the game. And the Saints interior of their interior of the offense line is not great. That's where they kind of struggle. The Saints offense line isn't really, the Saints offense line that we usually know that they usually have. It's not as great as it usually is. It's, it's an all right offense line. It's not special. So, the way this Colts defensive line has played all year, they played decent. They might not get pressure on quarterbacks. They've been able to play pretty well. So I'm interested to see if this defensive line can really continue doing it against a decent offensive line. As they have played some good offensive line, they just played the Browns offensive line. They, Dale Dangbo, Kenny Moore. I think the Saints are really going to have that Kenny Moore's nickel blitz scouted out this weekend because Kenny Moore had 1.5 sacks on it last week, so they're going to be watching out for that. But the Colts are also going to be watching out for Tyrann Mathieu. But you look at the Saints offense as a whole, they have Derek Carr. When Derek Carr is clean, when Derek Carr has time in the pocket, he will rip us apart. He will rip teams apart, and he will rip us apart if we don't get pressure. So we need pressure because our cornerback room is young. It's not a very good cornerback room, and we're playing, some very good receivers. Michael Thomas, he's a very crafty veteran. He's not what he once was, but he's still a very good route runner. He's a short-handed catcher. You have Chris Olave, he's a very good receiver. I do think, he is a number one in that offense right now, 100%. I think he is tough to go up against. He's a really good route runner. It's going to be tough, especially with no Julius Brents. And then, don't forget Dallas Flowers is out for the year with some kind of Achilles injury. I believe it was an Achilles tear. So we really have Darrell Baker, Amir Speed, Darrell Baker, Kenny Moore. It could be Jalen Jones. I've been impressed with Jalen Jones so far this year. I have liked what I've seen from him. Darrell Baker, I thought he's been very inconsistent. Now, the 2 penalties last week were not. I did not think they should have been penalties, but it is what it is. I thought Darrell Baker, other than those penalties anyways, he has not been great. But yeah, point being, our defensive back room is not impressive. We do need our defense to step up today. We really need our defensive line to step up in this game. If they do not, this cornerback room will be eaten alive. This passing defense will be eaten alive. But I think what comes with that is if we could stop the run, we can help our defense line. Alvin Kamara, he's a very good running back. He's one of the more dynamic running backs in the league. Hopefully we can keep him limited, which we've been pretty good against the running backs. So hopefully we can keep him under wraps. And if we do, I think we'll be able to, the pass rush will be able to get after Derek Carr more, which is very important. Like I've mentioned so far, if we don't get after Derek Carr, we probably will not win this game. If we cannot get pressure on Derek Carr, we will probably allow 30 plus points and we probably won't win the football game. But going into my final prediction, my thoughts on this game, who's going to win. So like I mentioned right when we started the video, this is one of the more difficult games to predict in this year so far. Really, this is one of the most difficult games to predict so far this year. But I'm going to take the Colts. And I get it, I'm a Colts fan. You're gonna think it's biased. I don't care what you think. But I'm taking the Colts because the coaching is better. Now, I think the Saints are the better football team. I think the Saints have more talent, and overall they're the better football team. But the Colts have played like the better football team, if that makes sense. The Saints have more talent, but the Colts have been more consistent, and the Colts have played better. So, can the Colts defensive line get after Derek Carr? I think they will. Can the Colts limit Alvin Kamara? I think they could. And can Gardner Minshew limit the turnovers? I think he will, considering you're not playing a pass rush like, you're not playing a guy like Myles Garrett. You have Tomlinson in the middle. You're not playing a crazy defensive line. Yeah, they're going to blitz. Yeah, they like to call man coverage, and Gardner Minshew may struggle against that. I can see him struggling against it, but I think he's actually going to play better against man coverage because you'll have Joshua Downs this game. The offensive line will be able to protect them. I think the Colts will be okay, and I think they'll be able to get the run game going because their offensive line has been absolutely phenomenal. They've been able to run it against some of the best run defenses in the NFL. They've been able to run it against the Titans really well, the Browns really well. They've been able to run the ball against some teams that are really tough to run the ball against, except for the Jaguars. That's a whole different story. But otherwise, they've ran the ball well, and now they're playing a really a run defense that you can run against. So it's very doable. And I think this game might come down to who can run the game better and who can control the clock. You think the team that has, the team that wins the time of possession in this game is a team that will win this football game. So that's what I got for you guys today. I am taking the Indianapolis Colts. I'll go with the score of I don't remember what I did in my prediction video, but I will go with the score of 27 to 27 to 24. It could probably be a lower scoring game than that. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in to our New Orleans Saints and Indianapolis Colts game preview. That's all I got for you guys today. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, put the post notification bell on so you will see future videos. This is the JDW Sports Talk Show, signing off.